University of Missouri St. Louis College of Education podcast. Hello and welcome. My name is David Stouffer and I get to be the recruitment coordinator for the UMSL College of Education. Each week on this podcast, we will meet an innovator in the field of education. We will spend some time getting to know them and learning about their work and how it can help you in yours. It is my sincere hope that this podcast will be a source of encouragement and support as you work to continue impacting lives as an educator. My guest today is Dr. Tom Kozloski. Dr. Kozloski served on the faculty at UMSL from 2000 to 2003 and rejoined the faculty in 2017 after teaching accounting and auditing at universities in Canada for 14 years. His teaching interests include financial accounting, auditing, and forensic accounting and auditing. He has received a number of teaching awards in recognition of his efforts in the classroom, including the highest award for teaching excellence offered at the St. Mary's University in Halifax, Nova Scotia, the Stewart Medal. In addition to this award, Tom was twice named Commerce Professor of the Year at St. Mary's University. Welcome, Dr. Kozloski, to Triton Talk.
Thank you very much, David.
You've had quite a variety of experiences over the last 20 or 30 years. I'm very interested if you would share a little bit about your professional background and ultimately what brought you back to UMSL, because it sounds like you had a pretty exciting career at St. Mary's in Nova Scotia. What brought you back?
So unfortunately, it's been longer than 20 or 30 years that I've had a professional life. But I grew up in Pittsburgh. I went off to Notre Dame, and after I graduated from undergrad there, I was an Army officer for 4 years. And then I got an MBA at the University of Pittsburgh. I worked in public accounting primarily for 6 or 7 years, and then I went back to get a doctoral degree at Drexel University in Philadelphia. And so my first job out of my doctoral program was here at UMSL, and I was on the faculty, like you mentioned, from 2000 to 2003. I moved to Canada for a family reason and taught at Laurier University and St. Mary's University in Canada. Laurier was outside of Toronto, and St. Mary's was down in Halifax, Nova Scotia. And I came back, about 14 years. It was time to come back to the United States. I wanted to come back to my home country. And so I just happened to hit the job market at the time when UMSL was looking for a person with my background, which I teach primarily auditing, financial statement auditing to upper level students here at UMSL. And so not only did they make the mistake of hiring me in 2000, but they made the mistake of hiring me in 2017 as well. So, shame on them, I guess.
Yes, well, so you're still here, so they must have been okay with that mistake.
Yes,
right?
Yeah, I guess. That's what they tell me anyway. So, I'm an associate professor in the Department of Accounting, and just recently took over the duties of being the chair of the Department of Accounting from Steve Morley, who had done that for about 11 years. Mm-hmm. So I'm kind of still learning the ropes of that position, and it actually kind of leads into, I think, another question.
Sure. Yeah. I'm curious, though, before we go there. Let's go ahead and do that. Tell me more about your current role here at UMSL, if you would, department chair, associate professor. Tell me more about what you're currently doing here at UMSL.
Okay, so like I said, I teach and have taught mostly auditing in both of my employment periods at UMSL. I worked as an auditor for a number of years in public practice, and so we have a lot of our faculty are CPAs, in addition to being doctoral degree holders. And I do that. I continue to do that. And the department chair role is a little more administrative in nature. And so even though I've been doing it since the 1st of July last year, I'm still learning new things that that I have to make decisions about, and new problems that come up. And again, it's those duties are mostly administrative. I kind of work out the schedule for everybody, and I deal with the adjuncts and hiring adjuncts if we use them, and payroll issues, and the occasional student issue. We don't have many,
Right.
So those are the kinds of things that I do now. So it keeps me fairly busy.
You're still teaching though as well,
Yes,
right?
yeah. I still teach the auditing course, usually like 4 sections a year at
Okay.
least we have. And we've just gotten a new dean in the College of Business Administration too. So, all of us as department chairs are working to help her get on board and, get her nice launch into her
Sure.
her new duties. So we're both learning.
Yeah, absolutely. Your bio that I read mentions that you are also involved in forensic accounting. Talk more about. I'm curious what forensic accounting entails.
Okay, so like the kind of auditing that I teach is about auditing financial statements. So an auditor will come in and do very broad kind of procedures across all the accounts on the financial statements. A forensic accountant or a forensic auditor will usually go to a client after there's been an allegation of some misdeeds, okay? Maybe cash is missing or inventory or other things that people like to steal. And they will go in and do a very deep and narrow kind of view of maybe a particular area like inventory or cash or whatever. And so I actually worked a little bit in that area too, and I found it very interesting, and that's kind of like why my interest in that. Yeah.
Well, I can see where the forensic side comes in, because obviously you say forensic, you think of crime scene investigation.
Exactly, yeah.
Something like that. So you're kind of doing that, but on an accounting end, you're investigating if
Exactly.
there was some improprieties or any inaccuracies or anything like
Yeah,
that.
so I joke with my students that in the the kind of common everyday notion of forensics, there's usually a dead body.
You're
know?
right.
And in the business setting, there's either a dead account, like missing
Yes.
inventory or whatever,
Right.
or a dead company.
Right.
Because if all the cash goes away,
Sure.
you
Sure.
can't run the company anymore.
Yeah.
So it's the same sort of thing. You try to figure out what happened. Sometimes assign blame, maybe assist, possibly with law enforcement if a company wants to prosecute. So
Sure.
it's a pretty interesting niche in accounting.
Yeah, it does
And,
sound
yeah,
interesting.
Has
Does
been
sound-
growing tremendously over the last 20 or 30 years. Yeah.
Somebody's going to be happy and somebody's going to be very upset with
That's
the work
very
you
true.
do.
Yes. Yeah.
No middle ground there. Your research interests in the area of judgment and decision making in accounting and auditing, fraud and fraudulent financial reporting, like we just talked about, ethics in accounting and auditing. Expand a little bit more about that and how you bring that to your teaching here at UMSL.
Okay, I've always been interested in my my professional work career before I became an academic, and why people do the things that they do, why they make the decisions that they make. So in accounting, as an academic discipline, there's basically 2 big areas of research. One deals with looking, kind of examining databases for trends and maybe like a new accounting pronouncement will come out, and so you look at earnings to see how people reacted to that and things like that. And then the other side of accounting research is behavioral in nature. So you're interested in taking theories from psychology and applying them to a particular accounting setting. It could be accounting, or it could be auditing, or other areas. And you look at how and why people make the decisions that they do. So we often talk about biases in decision making, and there we don't mean the normal connotation of the word bias. It's more like a cognitive bias. Okay, so for instance, someone might come to an early decision and then look for evidence that backs up their decision. Okay, and exclude evidence that does not support their decision. So that's called a confirmation bias. And so those are the kinds of things that we look at. And my dissertation, for example, looked at how people learn from previous cases of being exposed to a fraud to current cases, right? So whether they transferred knowledge from those old cases to the current cases. So those are some of the things that we're interested on the behavioral side. But
Sure.
the other side takes a lot of theory from finance and economics and applies it to accounting. And the side that I'm interested in takes theory from psychology and applies it to accounting. Yeah.
It does sound fascinating. I imagine, do you find yourself, especially in the world we live in right now, with some of the cases that are making national headlines involving accounting and involving financial, I'm not going to get political here, but obviously you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
There's a lot of that going on, and a very high-profile one right now.
Right, yeah.
Do you find yourself analyzing it as a faculty in the College of Accounting and kind of trying to see if you can dig through in between the lines and see what's really going on?
Those are very interesting cases, and we do like to try to either the students or me bring them into the classroom, to discuss. A lot of times we don't have detailed knowledge because we're relying on the press or whatever. And I learned in a case that I worked on.
That's not accurate? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah,
You're not getting accurate information from the press? What?
It's possible, yeah. So I remember I had a big case that I worked on. It was a bankruptcy case a long time ago, 30 years ago. It was a big airline. It was a big enough and prominent enough company that articles often appeared in the press, including the Wall Street Journal. And there were some times that I looked at an article and it was like, that didn't exactly happen, And so, you always have to take that with a grain of salt. But it is interesting, the bank failures we've had and, of course, going back a number of decades, the whole Enron era there of many different examples of fraudulent financial reporting, which is misstating the financial statements, and also auditors not doing their job well and dropping the ball. So, so we talk about those things, and we talk about efforts that the profession has made to try to not have them happen again. So yeah.
Types of students that you work with in the College of Business, who is a good candidate for the type of student you work with, and what career pathway would they look at after finishing a degree or a program with you?
Sure. So I mainly teach upper level students because the auditing course happens to be at the end of their accounting curriculum. It's usually one of the last courses that they take. And our students go off in a whole bunch of different directions. I mean, we just, for instance, yesterday, two of our fantastic student organizations sponsored the IRS Criminal Investigation Division to come in and talk to them about careers. So we've had people go in the governmental direction. We've had the Defense Audit Agency come in and the Army Audit Agency come in. So government is one avenue. We also have people who are, go out into industry practice, so Boeing, other big prominent companies in the area, and then we place a lot of our students into public accounting firms, and there are, in the across the country, across the world, there are four, what they call the big four major international firms, and some of our students go in that direction, and some of our students go to the very fine, medium-sized, and smaller firms in the city or surrounding area, and so we have. Very high demand for our accounting grads, and so they're usually very successful. Yeah.
So you do prepare future IRS agents that might come and audit people's taxes?
We could, yes, yeah. And so I'll try to talk to them and take your name off the list.
There you go. Well, it's encouraging that in preparing them for that career, you weigh very heavily on ethics and being true and honest, and that's something that's very needed, especially in that field, because they don't get a reputation for being that way, do they?
Exactly. Sometimes they don't. Yeah. And so, I think, given my point of view at age 65, I think that a lot of people at my age probably think that ethics has been in general decline, and they might be accurate about that.
Right.
And so, it is important to do that. In fact, one of our few electives, because we offer mainly the courses that are very conventional and needed for the CPA exam or other professional certifications. But one of our electives is an accounting ethics course, and that covers not only general ethical theory, kind of wide and broad, but also the particular requirements that are placed on accountants in practice.
Who really would be the type of student that would be geared and mentally prepared for a degree, and not just a degree in accounting, but a career in accounting after the fact?
Well, I think that there is certainly a quantitative dimension, but a lot of people I think are maybe frightened away from accounting by the fact that they think it's they have bad math experiences maybe in high school or whatever. And there is mathematics in accounting, but it tends to be, on average, it tends to be basic mathematics, right? So, we don't do, we don't use calculus in
Right.
accounting, right?
Right.
So, but nowadays, so that was the case for many decades. Nowadays, there is a very strong trend toward analysis and using sophisticated computer programs to perform that analysis. So technology has really simplified and enabled accountants to do a lot more, and especially those things that used to be done manually and were very tedious and time consuming. So technology has helped with that. And then just the whole data analytics explosion that's happened in the last few years has also impacted accounting. So in that case, when you're doing statistical analysis or anything, I guess the level of mathematics has risen.
Sure.
But it's still not, it's not like being a math major or
Right.
anything like that.
So it's really a lot more of just the ability to use those skills, but the attention to detail and focus has to be very unique in the
Attention
type
to
of work.
detail in financial work is very important. Yeah. Because if you don't have good attention to detail, then when everything gets summarized and reported at a higher level, it's not right either. So,
Exactly.
yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I wanted to give you a chance to talk a little bit more about anything else that you wanted to discuss. And
Okay.
so give you a chance to take the mic and just talk a little bit more about your work and anything else that comes to mind that you'd like to talk about. The mic is yours.
Okay, thank you. But anyway, our department here at the University of Missouri St. Louis is an excellent department. We have 10, although next year we'll have 9 full-time faculty, 6 tenure track people, and 3 teaching faculty, all of whom have terminal degrees, either a PhD or a DBA. So we're I'm not speaking for myself, but in total, we're a very good group. I think we do a very good job with our students, and our students are outstanding. Okay, we really attract a lot of really good students. This is an excellent time to study to become an accountant. There is it's kind of exacerbated by COVID, but there's a very high demand and a little bit of a shrinking base. There's less people choosing to work in accounting for some reason that the profession doesn't fully understand. And enrollments are, in business schools actually, and not only just in accounting, enrollments are down a little bit. So, all of our students have multiple opportunities offered to them when they're ready to, go out into the professional world. So it's a really great opportune time to study accounting and pursue any number of the professional designations or credentials that are available. And, we like to see, we certainly like to see the quality of our students continue, because we've had excellent students in the past. We've had people who've won some of the high level medals for performance on the CPA exam. So I think we punch well above our weight, and we love our students, and I think kind of across the board, we really go to the mat for them, and and we just love to see them launched off into a great career in professional life, whatever direction they take or whatever. So and hopefully we'll see that this high demand and lower supply that exists right now will be involve increases in salaries. So even though the salaries are strong, we'll probably see a rise in salaries over the next few years. And depending on what avenue or direction you take, the prospects for income can be very substantial, as one advances in their career. So, yeah. So we offer accounting to all the business students. They have to take the intro accounting course, and then the ones that come to us to major are just excellent. Yeah.
What's in store for Dr. Tom Kozlowski's future?
Well, as I've been joking with my colleagues, I'm kind of, to use a baseball analogy, I'm kind of rounding third, okay? And I can see home plate, and there's no catcher in front of it. And so I'm probably looking at about 5 more years in the department. And what we're trying to do now is to kind of set up for the future. And so we're going to hire somebody this year to replace a retirement, and lower the average age of our faculty, and so just building for the future. In addition, we have a number of initiatives in the department, like obtaining STEM designation, and maybe adding, if we can add some additional faculty, there's opportunities for adding programs, like for instance a Master of Taxation program. So yeah, right now we have a good offering of tax courses, but if we could offer a degree, that would probably be good for a lot of people with that interest. And so yeah, those are the things we're going to be working on over the next few years. And so I hope when I hand off to somebody in 5 or 6 years that we've kind of replenished our losses and set ourselves up for a continuation of what has been a fantastic past.
Yeah. It's been an interesting transition for me from the K-12 world, where you start teaching in your early 20s. As soon as you hit that 30-year mark at 52, 53 years old, you're retired and you're done, and you're retired and you're living the happy life. That doesn't happen here at UMSL with our faculty. Our faculty stick around a very, very long time, and it's really a testament, I think, to the passion that people like you have for your work and for UMSL. And you mentioned, you said this, not me, you're 65 and you're still thinking you have 5 more years to go. I mean, that's remarkable that you have that much passion and longevity. So I appreciate that.
Yeah. So I think the first and foremost thing, and across the faculties, all the colleges and departments, is the students. So if we still feel like we can contribute and assist those students, I think there's a tendency for people to want to stay.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Do all your friends and family ask you to do their taxes for them in April?
Yeah, but that's interesting because, and in fact, one of our professors who is a tax person, and teaches the tax courses, we have kind of a running battle between audit and tax. We have, and she was in the Navy and I was in the Army, so we had that going on too. So anyway, people do not ask me to do their taxes because they know that was never an interest of mine. And then I moved away for 14 years, and so I had 2 countries' tax systems to worry about. And as some of your listeners might know, that when you're a U.S. citizen and you live in another country, you still have to file a U.S. return. You get a big credit for all the taxes that you paid in Canada, and usually you don't owe anything, but you have to file. And so there's a tax treaty that governs the two. And so me, a CPA, with a doctoral degree in accounting, I took my taxes to a preparer, in Canada, because I did not want to be in trouble in 2 different countries.
Yes, that's very wise, very wise.
Yeah, so people don't typically ask me. They might ask me a question, and then when they see the look on my face, they'll realize that they should probably ask somebody else.
Well, Dr. Tom Kozlowski, it's been a pleasure meeting you and getting to know you a little better. Perhaps next time when you come on, we can talk a little more about your experience in Canada, because that sounds like that must have been an incredible time for you, and you obviously made a lot of great accomplishments and were recognized for a lot of those accomplishments.
Yeah,
as well.
Living in Atlantic Canada, in Nova Scotia there, which is, the place where we lived was about equivalent to the middle of Maine, if you drew a line across there.
Sure.
So, that's a beautiful part of the world, and I would encourage anybody who was ever thinking of vacationing up there to, that they could really explore Nova Scotia, Cape Breton.
Do you ever get to go back and visit?
Yeah, possibly. Yeah, I haven't been back since I came back to the United States. But I take that back. I went to a conference in Calgary, so that's out west. And so I was joking with those people. It was like, the first international conference I go to after I lived in Canada for 14 years. is a conference in Canada, so.
Well, it's been a pleasure, sir. Thank you so much for being on Triton Talk, and I hope we can talk again sometime.
Thank you for having me. Thank you very much.
I am honored that you chose to join me today for the University of Missouri St. Louis College of Education podcast. I hope you'll join me next time. Till then, I'm David Stouffer. Thank you for the work you do. Never forget, you are making a difference every day.